everybody just oh, everybody kind of gangs up on you, right? So it's like hitting a beehive with a stick. As soon as you say something that's true, all the light workers don't really want to know about it. They're like, "Who the hell are you?" Blah, blah, blah. So, but the funny thing was, I was scrolling and I found one of these groups that I'm on. Hey, Kev, and on this group, there's people complaining how oppressive the energy is, and I'm like, "Fucking tell me about it." It's like been going all week, and then I'm sort of asking, I'm not really asking Jesus, I'm just asking in my mind, is like, what the hell's going on, right? I know all of this stuff is above my pay grade, right? So all of this stuff is celestial. You don't really need to know about it. It's on a need to know basis. And if you're meant to know, you'll know. It'll just be one of those things. But I asked just to the universe, it's like, what is going on? You have these sort of rhetorical kind of questions. It's like, what is going on? I can feel this energy. It's just flattening me. And turns out that like 3 days ago or whatever it was, there was a burst of 25 hertz in the Schumann resonant field of the Earth, which, from what I can tell, was building for a few days and then it kind of exploded or something, or burst. And it's a light field, right? So the Schumann resonance is a field of light measurement. And so when you get these overall, it's got nothing to do with your own personal atonement in an individual sense, because when you learn to feel, when you learn to tap into the energy of stuff, you can tell what's yours, and you can also tell what's going on in the sonship, in the overall, right, in the greater thing. And like lesson number one, nothing I see means anything. But I'm looking at this guy who's an astronomer, right? And he's explaining the Schumann resonance field, which is something I'd heard of it before, but I didn't really take an interest because it's too scientific and my mind doesn't really do scientific. And he starts explaining the Schumann resonant field is this field of measuring light waves around the world, which, light transforms as gamma radiation, as all sorts of different radio waves, right? So radiation is a radio wave. And that's how they measure it. They pick up on the radio waves and different frequencies. And the Schumann resonance is the resonance of the earth. Now, I remember Ted's teaching about the nature of body to world is the same as creator to the created. So in this world, you have this kind of association. And I often talk about this in the terms of Mother Nature, which I'll explain in a second. You have this kind of association, body to world. And I remember a few weeks back we were talking about the magnetic field of the earth and the body to world relationship, right, which is divine, right? You've got to include everything in. It's all holy, it's all divine, right? All living things are sacred. Now, the earth being a living organism as well, is included in that. People tend to figure that the earth is this kind of inert rock ball that's covered in living organisms, but it's not actually the case. All things are ideas in the mind of God, just misinterpreted through form, and looking for meaning in the form rather than looking beyond the form to see what the manifestation comes from, right? Which is obviously God. There's Ali looking very Santa Clausy, red and white. Mrs. Claus. So in the magnetic field that this guy was testing, and he had this sort of thing plugged into the ground, he was wearing rubber-soled shoes, and then he took the rubber-soled shoes off, and it registered like 4 or whatever, I'm just making up a number, but it registered a very low number on his meter, and when he stepped onto the earth with bare feet, it went all the way up to like 25 or something, right? And he said, this is the measure of the connection that you have with the earth as an organic electric being, right? So you're a being of energy, you're a being of a frequency with an organic suit. But the nature of the whole is that we don't have this kind of connection, right? We're looking for the connection. We're looking for our wholeness. And I remember when, and I'm not sure where I'm going with this, I'm circling around in a big loop here, but I remember when I was living in the commune before my enlightenment, right? So it's probably 6 months before. And I had no electricity. I was living in a teepee that I'd made, had no electricity. There was 8 of us lived on nearly 200 acres in the middle of nowhere. No electricity, no running water, no nothing, and we would wash and drink and everything out of the creek and grow our own crops and had chickens and things like that. It was kind of just getting started. But one of the things that I noticed that happened, because I hadn't come into contact with the Course yet, I just had sort of more basic books, The Power of Now and the first edition, and books like what I mentioned before, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, which is a great book for what it is. And I remember, because I was barefoot the whole time, I had dreadlocks and all sorts of, look crazy, used to walk around naked, right? And I remember feeling this sense of connection with the earth, with Mother Nature. That's what I called it back then. I didn't see it as a divine relationship particularly. But I would notice when a bird flew off from a tree, I would pay a heightened amount of attention to that. And I couldn't know why. It's like, why is that attracting me, right? I was away from society. I was away from electricity, cars, everything, right? Why is that attracting me? When leaves were flowing past me in the creek when I was washing, I would make a mental note of those leaves and kind of picture the tree upstream that they'd come from. You know, it was like I was really tuning in, and it was happening by itself. It was much the same way that an Australian Aboriginal or a Kalahari Bushman or somebody that lives in an extreme connection with nature needs to know these things and pay attention to these things in order to survive, right? They depend on the little signs that Mother Nature gives them. They depend on the winds, the birds, they depend on the signs and things because they know what all of these things mean to them. They know that if a bird takes off here, there might be something chasing it, and that might be food and whatever, or they might be the prey, you know, and things like that. And there was this really weird, and it was so profound, I couldn't put it aside. I began to take a sort of an anthropological interest in it. It was really, really cool. When I left the commune, it kind of faded away again because I went to my house for a while, had the voice of God, the whole thing ended up in Byron Bay, and I was back in society, right, where I didn't want to be, but I knew that I had to be there. I knew I had to be and sit with Ted, right? But the energy of it and the awareness of that energy was something that was so profound. I couldn't just say, oh, that was a coincidence. I couldn't just say, I'm making things up, because it started happening all day, every day. I would just notice things. My senses became heightened, you know. And there's a thing where somebody who loses one of their senses, like I used to have a friend who was born blind, and his sense of hearing was incredible. He could hear me coming from like miles away, and he would know by my footsteps it was me. He would know by my breathing that it was me. I didn't even have to say anything. He'd just say, Dave, is that you? You know? And he was a funny kind of guy. He did everything by his other senses, and they became much more heightened to take the shortfall of what he'd lost through being born blind, you know. The first time I met him was at night time. I went to buy a car from him. My friend who took me there, it was 7:30 at night. My friend who took me there didn't tell me that he was blind, right? He thought he'd keep that one up his sleeve and surprise me with it. When we got there, it's pitch black. It's 7:30 at night. He's working on the car that he's going to sell me. He's underneath the car, and it's parked up on the gutter and on the road, one wheel up and down, so he can fit under through the gutter. And he's doing something under the car with no light, right, at night. And we kind of like sort of, Mark introduced me to him in a funny way, and I said to him, as a kind of a stupid person thing to say, I said, how can you see what you're doing down there with no light? Because I didn't know he was blind, right? And he said, I'm blind. I just feel it. And like, when someone says something and it doesn't quite go in, you don't know if they're kidding or whatever. I'm like, and you go in your own brain, you go, what did he say? Anyway, he came out from under the car, went to shake my hand and held his hand just out in a general direction. And I realised he wasn't pointing his hand at me. He was pointing it generally in my direction, but not directly at me like someone would. So I realised this guy's freaking blind, And then we went through the whole preamble of how come he was blind and blah, 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 blah. But the car was beautiful. But the thing is that his other senses made up for what he lost. In the Schumann resonance, it's like, and in Christ-mindedness, what you're being encouraged to do is to let go of those denser vibrations, to let go of that dross and that gross kind of body-associated vibration, and learn to tune into the more celestial harmonics that are all around you all the time, which we call Christ-mindedness, in order so that that can become stable within you as a way of knowing yourself in the world, right? So that when things goes on in the world, you're tuning into it, not by conscious thought, but by the frequency, by the waves that it sort of, that you become aware of, right? Because your natural language is not words and thoughts, it's light, right? When Jesus says communication is seen in light, or miracles are seen in light, and communication is light, he means it. It's light. So when you have these bursts of radio waves and wherever it came from, whatever it's for, and people are associating it now, because I looked into it a bit more with the closest passing of 3I Atlas, right, to our planet, which is that interstellar thing, which is apparently giving off massive amounts of X-ray thing, and they figure it might have triggered this thing in our celestial, in our earthly sort of outer shell. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. I don't want to make up a story and say, oh, this means this, because technically it's above my pay grade. Nothing I see means anything. But it's funny, if you look for an answer to something, you'll find it, right? If you look for an answer to something, you'll find it in the world, because it's all in your mind anyway, right? And what's going on in your mind is always represented out in the world by something that you can see and tangibly understand, to represent part of a relationship that you're in with the whole. Okay? Now, the whole relationship that you're in with the whole can only be shown to you in illumination, in revelation. Until then, you catch sight of it in individual relationships, in individual situations with people, situations and events, and generally they tend to be fairly domestic. Right? Generally, they tend to be he said, she said, this person, that person, whatever. But every now and again, you get one of these ones that's celestial. You get one of these ones that's planetary, cosmic. It's outside of the normal kind of deal, right? And I remember the last one was at least a year ago, and I wouldn't mind betting, if I had have put my finger on the calendar at that time, I wouldn't mind betting it was probably in the passing of Oumuamua when it went past, which was another interstellar thing. But, the interesting thing in looking at all that, Tina, because like you and I have been going through this the whole week, right? I've been celebrating it, even though it's really like down, right? I've been like, fuck yeah, this is great. I love all this shit. Right, bring it on, even though I can't get out of bed, because I've been there before and done that before, right? But this one was pretty intense. But the thing that I find interesting in looking at it is the story of the three wise men who followed the star, right? Now those guys, I mean, in those days, you're walking across the one came from Egypt, one came from Syria, one came from wherever. But they were walking across the desert, right? In the desert, there is nothing to follow but the stars at night, the same as the sailors on the sea, right? There's nothing to follow. What are you going to look at? There's not like a tree on the next sand dune you can go, oh, there's that tree. You've got to follow the stars, right? Now, there's one star that came up quite bright, which led them to Bethlehem, right? So all of the stories, all of the associations of my mind are all representing in symbolic form the birth of the Christ in me, which is me as in higher mind, and witnessed to through Dave the Avatar, Deb the Avatar, Tina the Avatar, whatever. So no matter what seems to be going on in the world, whether it's the three wise men 2,000 odd years ago or Three Eye Atlas or whatever's going on, it is still always the resurrection in progress. It is still always divine, right? The temptation of the ego mind is to want to just wipe it out and go, oh, that's not divine, that's just a comet. Oh, that's not divine, that's just a planetary eclipse, or a whatever. And we can scientifically explain these things away, right? But you can't explain away the fact that God is everything. As above, so below. God is everything. I may not know the meaning that these celestial events have. I may not, I may be tempted to want to give them a meaning separate from the holiness of all other things, right? But everything and everyone is playing its part perfectly for me in a divine portrayal of the transformation of mind as a whole, right? Everyone. There is no exception. Right? Jesus says in the Course, something like, no one is sent to anyone by accident. Nothing comes to you uninvited. Everything is perfect for you, for your awakening, whether you like it or not, whether you can see it or not, whatever. But the purpose of your training is for you to be able to learn to see it, right? The purpose of your training is for you to be able to learn to interact with it in a way that represents the holiness that you're telling yourself you're looking for or that you're willing to accept, right? So whatever comes to you, like he says in the Course, every encounter is a holy encounter, right? Every encounter is a holy encounter. How I choose to see it is up to me. Now, recognizing that I'm coming from the blindness of my association, where the blind lead the blind, etc., falling into a hole all the time, all of a sudden now I have a new light or a new purpose or a new reason to be able to look at things through if I apply it, right? But I have to apply it. If I don't apply it, what's going to happen? I'm just going to be sitting in my own association looking for the answer to what I think the meaning of things might be according to my own thoughts about it, right? Which don't mean anything. So I'm learning to tune in. I'm always learning to tune into the Spirit. Why am I here? What is this for? Who is this person you've sent to me? How do I see the truth in this? Help me to, like you're always asking in every situation, asking to see the truth of the situation, not work out where it fits into what you think your transformation is, because your transformation changes all the time. Every freaking tick of the clock, what I think it was yesterday is different today, and you constantly find yourself in these moments of being dislodged. And that's where I'm like, yes, fantastic. And I knew, in this particular energy, in this particular frequency that's been pervasive over the last week, and I have to use time to talk about it because there's no other way to represent the symbols, right? But in the particular association of it, I knew that because I know that Jesus is in charge of time and space, even though I was feeling like a corpse in my bed yesterday, right, off and on, I was getting better yesterday. I thought I was out of it in the morning when I wrote to you, and I'm like, yes, it's finished. I'm out of it, that whole thing. And then like by lunchtime, I was like, back in it again. But I knew that by today, Jesus would organize time and space so I'd be able to come to the Zoom. I just knew that, right? Because that's always the way it is. When I have to go to a meeting, when I have to do anything, when I have to talk to somebody, all of a sudden, whatever I'm going through on a personal level kind of like gets put to the side so I can accomplish what's needed on the greater scale of things, if that makes sense. But it's also inclusive of my own individual deal, right? It's all things. And Ted used to talk about it as when you guys would come to the healing center, he'd be like, people would come there thinking it was a community, right? oh, this is a spiritual community. And he'd be like adamant, no, it isn't. It's not a spiritual community. It's a place where you come to get the results of your own thinking, and that's it. You know, because you have to see the power of your own mind at work, even if that looks like it's in denial. So guys would come to the healing center completely in denial, right? They would be telling themselves stories like, oh, I'm on a spiritual journey and I've been reading all these books and I've been doing this for 30 years, whatever. And as soon as you get there, it doesn't mean a hill of beans, does it, Ali? It's all brand new, right? Right in the moment that you get there. This moment here and now is all that matters. And the way that Ted would explain the healing center is this is a portal, right? It's the same as this Zoom. This is a portal for you who've been beating yourself up out in the world with your concepts to step into for a moment, take a breath, realize what you've been doing, right? It's like a first aid booth in the middle of a marathon run. You know, sometimes people think they can run the 42Ks, and at 20K mark, there's usually a nurse and a water station, and you can check in there if you're not feeling good. I've never done a 42K run, right? But it's kind of like that. So a healing center and the Course in Miracles, for a second, you get this kind of time out. You go through this process of remembering the power of your mind. It's like, oh shit, I see what I'm doing. And then you go back out into the world and you have to apply what you've learned in the healing center to the cycles that now begin to resume for you on your old agenda, on your old thing, right? So you have a moment of learning. It's like you know, I can't think of a good analogy right now, but that was a pretty good analogy. Like it's a portal. So these Zoom meetings and stuff is a portal where you come to take advantage of my certainty and build your own certainty so that the equilibrium of what we're certain about becomes the same thing, right? And the only thing I'm ever certain is the perfection of everything. Everything's always perfect, right? Everything is always perfect. It doesn't matter how it looks. And that was the subject matter of today's post when I woke up at 4 o'clock, and it's like my eyes were like boggling out of my head. I'm like, what is it now, Jesus? No, I wasn't that rude. I was... I'm like, okay, Jesus, I'll get my phone. I'll turn it on. I'll do the post. Why you can't make it at 6 o'clock? Because nothing happened at 6 o'clock. I don't know why, but it had to be at 4 o'clock. You know, it's like somebody's timeline needed it at 4 o'clock, so whatever. And you just kind of get used to these different frequencies because Jesus is a frequency. You get used to these different frequencies coming and going, and you feel a lot like a reed, right? Blowing in the wind, one day this way. You know, when he says the spirit is like the wind, no one knows where it goes and where it comes from and where it's going to and all that. But your feet are rooted in your purpose. My purpose is healing. My purpose is salvation. My purpose is forgiveness, atonement, all of that, right? It's the one thing. But my mind, it just goes wherever it needs to go. And it has to go wherever it needs to go because I'm giving my life and will to God. Yes, Lord, whatever you would use me for, I'm saying yes to that. And the more you harmonize with that idea of saying yes to whatever it's going to look like, the more you'll get the result of it and the more you'll bear witness to your own transformative process. Right? And that's why I tell you guys sometimes, you know, like follow those instincts. You know, sometimes, and I call them instincts because I don't know what to say, but follow that sort of sense of things. Because your sense of things is not limited to the ideas that you have about yourself as a human construct. Your sense of things is actually tapped into the cosmic or the collective consciousness, right? The whole hive mind of the sunship. Right? I'm a bit Star Trekky there, but your sense of things has a unity consciousness to it that you're supposedly and supposed to be practicing listening to and tuning into through initially the formal activity of meditation, prayer, and all of that stuff, right? So meditation and prayer, like Jesus even says it, prayer is a means of communicating with God, right? Prayer is a means of communicating with God. It is the only means of communicating with God from this realm. And God is the whole, right? So when I tap into the whole, I wake up in the morning and it's like, all right, I'm here today for a higher purpose. I'm here today to represent him who sent me, and I'm here today to make sure that I'm vigilant for my own peace of mind and recognizing those things that disturb me so that I can become more tuned in to the frequency of my peace of mind again and again and again and again until I get the hang of staying in that frequency, right? Until the temptations of the world are so weak to me and so far behind anything that I want that they don't even disturb, that they're not even attractive, right? They no longer call to me. I find myself in the world but not of it. And that'll take a bit, because people have preferences. Well, I'll follow you, Jesus, if, the story of the merchant. I'll follow you, Jesus, but I still like sex. I'll follow you, Jesus, but what about all this money that I've acquired? Do I just give it away? I don't want to just give it away. I'll follow you, Jesus, but I've got a promising career that looks like I'm going to be in front of the camera for the next 10 years and make lots of, all of these things. And Jesus is highly inappropriate in that regard, right? He just comes along and grabs you when he grabs you, and it takes a moment to realize you don't have a say in it, right? You just don't have a say in it. When it's your turn to serve the Spirit, you'll be called, you'll hear, and you will answer, because all things are the will of God, and it is God's will that you awaken, right? You individually, as part of the whole, let's say, taking your place in the great chain of atonement. There's a link in front of you that's awoke, which is me. There's a link that you represent, which is awakening now. And there are links in the future, in your future, in an idea of time, right? Because that's where the transformation takes place, where students, let's say, we call them students, where students will come to you who are going to be links to carry this message and this universal curriculum forwards, moving on and leaving a trail behind them, even as you will when you're gone from here. All right? It's like, in the most part, you're unaware of how much effect you're having in the world, simply by being unwilling to compromise this message, simply by being unwilling to accept death in any of its forms as being something that has any kind of power over you whatsoever, having accepted divine power as your reality and standing in that and keeping that sacred and holy. You're not here in the world for the same reason other people are here in the world. And in the course of your willingness to stay true to that, you will meet those people who are also like you, not in the world for the same reason as other people, who are looking for you. Right? Love will find itself. You are love in the openness of saying, here I am, as an open portal to anyone who's willing to take on board a new purpose and learn a better way. And there are people out there in the world looking for a purpose and looking for a better way, who will automatically be sent to you when they're ready to be able to receive what it is that you're able to give in the way that you give it. And it'll be perfect. One thing will just lock. It's like two things magnets coming together, and boom, and the closer they get, the stronger the attraction becomes. Eventually they have to join, because they don't have the power individually to resist each other, because the two of them are stronger than the one of them separately, if that makes sense. The two combined are stronger than the power of the one on its own. And that's where salvation is. Right? Salvation is joining. Salvation is coming together in a single purpose. It doesn't matter how that purpose plays out, helping someone fix their car, learning to bake cakes with your mother, doing any kind of anything together. It's the togetherness of it that matters. It's the joy in the togetherness. Even if you argue and bicker about each other, the cake of, let's say you're baking the cake, which is the end result, is the proof of the joy in the joining, which is Brother Gregory's teaching, I think. The joy is in the joining. Right? The joy is in the joining. Now, In our particular circumstances, Jesus asking us to represent the curriculum specifically. I need you to carry this course and take it to others and represent this course to other people. The joy in our joining is going to be of a higher frequency or a higher order than just making a cake, right? Two people just making a cake are probably completely unaware that they're actually participating in the collaborative venture of salvation. And yet they find the joy in it, right? But two people who do it, who make that same cake, knowing that it's part of their journey in salvation, knowing that it's part of their witnessing to truth, do it in joining with the greater thing that happens than the sum of each one of them separately. Right? They know it consciously and they're witnessing to it consciously. It's like, holy cow, I see the principle at play, I see how it works, and then you want to just naturally look at all your other relationships where you think you just want to be by yourself or build a comfort zone or a personal space and all of this sort of stuff. And you realize to yourself, it's like, why am I defending myself against universal learning? Why would I need a defense? Why would I need a comfort zone? Why would I need any kind of personal space? You know? And I remember it when I was going through AA, one of the criteria for being a sponsor, I was never a sponsor, I was a guide at the healing center, but I never got into sponsorship because I never got through the 12 steps in a way where I felt I could be a sponsor. But one of the criteria for sponsorship is that you're available 24/7, right? So people ring you up at 4 a.m, drunk, having failed, they've fallen off the wagon and they're drunk again. And as their sponsor, giving as you have been given, it's your job to go and get them from wherever they are, to give them coffee and make sure they're okay until they come to a state of sobriety, and then make sure and pick them up for the next AA meeting. And you do that again and again and again. And it's no burden. If it's a burden, you are not doing it in the spirit of love with which it is intended. Right? So it is better in that case to not do it at all. You know, because you have to act in the spirit of love. And if you can see that you're not acting in the spirit of love, which is unconditional giving, no matter what it looks like, right? If you're not acting in the spirit of love, then either don't do it at all or ask for a restorative in your own mind. Ask for a miracle in your own mind to remove the block, which is telling you that, oh, this person's a pain in the ass. It's 4 a.m. and they're pissed again, or whatever, right? Ask for the healing in your mind so then you can again be of service in a way where service will be represented at its highest level. And that person will be like, this guy's always so joyous when he comes to pick me up at 4 a.m. and I'm pissed and I vomit in his car and whatever, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? There needs to be no attachment to an outcome in the world. Oh, there's Anna. Anna, you're teaching in a minute. I'm just holding the fort for you for a second, and then Tina's going to teach. And we're teaching today perfection. We're teaching the perfection of all things, right? And the perfection of all things is witnessed to through the activity of it in your own transformative process. You look back on things in retrospect and you're like, wow, it had to happen that way. I had to meet that person. I had to go through that shit. I had to have that ordeal. I had to do this. I had to do that so that I could be here and be now in this moment. Everything led you perfectly to this moment, despite your resistance to being led willingly. Think how many times you've been resistant to the world. I don't like this government sucks. I don't like these group of people really piss me off. I don't like whatever. There's always going to be something in the world. But all of those things, all of those people, situations and events are playing their part perfectly to bring you to a point where you question the reality of your experience in the world to such a deep level that you run out of answers for yourself. And you have to run out of answers for yourself. You have to stop trying to change the politics. You have to stop trying to change the environment. You have to stop trying to change everything because the world is not your home. And the ego always approves of you trying to change things out there in the world. You have to instead change your mind about the world, about what I think I see going on out there, in the recognition that, and I take this on faith initially until you experience it, that there is no world, which is the central lesson this course attempts to teach. Yeah. Does that make sense? Do we have a few? Oh, we've got a few guys here. There's Jason, Robert, Edward, Kevin, Harry and Emily. I'm on my phone, so I have to scroll up and down to see you guys. How are you going, Jason?
Um, I, I guess if I'm being honest, I feel pretty pretty terrible this week.
Right. In what way? Tell me. Describe it.
Um, I would say that I feel like there's I would say I have a big attachment to just being here and things I want and things I don't want to happen. And I feel like there's a lot of freedom that I'm not feeling because I have so much of an attachment to wanting something to happen or and not wanting other things to happen. Um, and I say like I don't want like the world anymore, but then I feel my mind searching for other things like whether it be you know relationships or food or fun activity or something to like fill that hole. And I would say for me personally, being honest, like I don't know why it's always manifested this way, but like wanting a relationship, like a romantic relationship, has always been that thing for me.
Yep.
Um, and it's like the ebbs and flows, and just like meeting people and it not working out for all types of reasons, and trying to figure out why. I think that's been the pattern for me that I've noticed for the longest time, and um, that's and just not really knowing what I want to do with my life right now. And I think just in that area of just not knowing what I want to do with my life and relationships and just like everything that has to do with just being here and thinking I'm really Jason and not being able to let go of the fact that I'm not Jason.
Right. So you see what you're doing there in your own mind, right?
I feel confused.
Right. You know what ping pong is or table tennis with the two bats and the ball?
Yeah, yeah,
You're playing that game in your own mind, this thought and that thought, and then looking back and then this way and then that way and that way, trying to win against yourself, right? Now, you can't win against yourself. And I'm just going to give you this because you mentioned it and it stuck out for me. One of the things you said was filling in the emptiness, right? I think that's how you put it, right? I want to fill in that emptiness with a relationship or whatever, all right? Don't fill in the emptiness, all right? Don't fill in the gap. Leave it there. Let it be painful. Let that emptiness come up, and it will be painful. Okay, because that emptiness is you trying to put off your own actual spiritual progress or spiritual journey in favor of you playing table tennis, seeing if you can get a better deal if you manipulate your thinking this way and that way, trying to work out why your relationships are like this and that and the other, right? You've got to stop filling in that gap and let the universe sort it out for you, right? Now, there's no reason you can't have a relationship, a romantic relationship, whatever it is. Right? Absolutely you can, but it's going to be for a whole different purpose, right? You're going to be joining with somebody on a physical level, and you'll go through all the physical shit that goes along with it. I mean, you cannot not really, but you join with somebody on a physical level in a romantic way, and it's going to be no different than if you were to talk to somebody at the greengrocer store every day when you go down to buy your milk and your paper and your whatever, right? It's the same kind of relationship exactly, except it's more physical. But it represents the same thing, an opportunity for learning, right? The difference between being in a relationship that has a single purpose and wanting a relationship, whether you recognize the need for a single purpose in it or not, is being able to be more honest with yourself, right? Because being in a physical relationship, it's going to trigger you. I don't know, like Jesus says in the Course, anything you think you want in the world can and will hurt you, right? Now, if you're prepared to take that on board, it's like, well, I'll give it a go. I'll take it on board for whatever. How bad can it get, right?
Yeah.
But some relationships, you may know, they're horrific. You're just like, how did I end up with this person? And some might be just like, I feel like I'm carrying the light end of the relationship where you're not really putting any work in. The other person does all the work. And relationships look like every kind of aspect of self-analysis, right? But you cannot not be honest about it because the other person is your witness. And all you're learning in the Course in Miracles is to use your relationships to witness to your own state of mind. Now, you can try and tell yourself, oh, it's not so bad, that person's okay, whatever. But the fact that you have any kind of reaction to that person at all in a way where you see anything other than the unconditional love and perfection in the relationship means that there is healing to do in you, right? Now, the healing is always going to be that journey into fear, that journey into confrontation with false premises. Because if you're really about unconditional love rather than special love, and you're really devoting that relationship to unconditional love, it has to bring stuff up. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel the need for a relationship. You wouldn't feel any need whatsoever. You would be free. And like you said, you feel like you're limiting that freedom. It's like, well, that's true. You are. You're trying to sort of orchestrate freedom on your own terms, right? I want it like this, not like that. I'd rather have this kind of person in my life than that kind of person, right? Totally understandable. That's the human experience. There's no good or bad about it. It's just like, that's the storyline. That's what every person in the planet comes here. That's exactly, the game of preferences, good and bad, right and wrong, better and worse, all of these sorts of things. But when you get to a point where you realize, man, I'm sick of that. All of my relationships just fall to pieces. I never find the right person. You kind of realize what you're looking for isn't out there in another person, it's within you, right? So in the Bible, Jesus says, seek first the kingdom of heaven, and then all else will come to you, right? Now, I realized all my relationships were just shit, one after the other. And in my 20s and 30s, I was a bit of a playboy. I liked to sort of sling it around, and I had one girl here this week, another girl the next week, and sometimes it'd last for 3 months and then it'd all fall to pieces. And I could see that I was the one that was always the catalyst for the destruction of the relationship. Because something in me, unacknowledged, wasn't looking for a relationship. It was looking for God. It was looking for truth. And in my particular footprint, in my particular association, that was really strong, right? To the point where at age 33, I reached enlightenment. It was like I didn't know that was going to happen. But there was no way I could hold. And the funny thing, the ego dangled the most beautiful carrot in the form of this young girl right in front of me about a week or 2 weeks before enlightenment happened to try and distract me. And I recognized it. Here's this young woman who's absolutely 10 out of 10 catwalk model kind of person, and a lovely person at like everything you could imagine as a lovely, perfect partner. And I had to tell her I'm not interested. I had to send her away, you know, and it was like, there was a moment where I'm like, I can't believe I just did that. Right? But I knew that the healing of my mind, I knew that what had been shown to me in on top of Mount Warning and everything else was more important than me getting sidetracked or caught up in another relationship just yet. Right? Now, it was some years after my illumination and after sitting with Ted for those years where I was teaching the course in Airlie Beach, right, just up the road from Deb, in my unit. And I had a 2-bedroom unit, and there would be about 6 to 8 of us 3 times a week. We'd do a light session, do Course in Miracles readings, do all sorts of stuff, right? And that went on for a couple of years. And then those people got what they needed. They became proficient at using the course as much as they want, and they started to drift away just energetically. And I felt it, and I let them go. Right, I'm just like, okay, this is perfect. This is all perfect. And pretty much at the end of it, I was just by myself, and I'm like, all right, Jesus, now what? Right, and all those guys, by the way, are still doing the course up in Airlie, and they're still part of it and involved in some way. Most of them. But now what? And I was sitting at the lights one day, at the traffic lights, at the red light, and I looked up at the red light thinking maybe I should just leave town, go somewhere else and just see what, I'll just be guided. And then this thought popped into my head about having a relationship, and it's like, maybe I should have a relationship and see where I'm at with stuff. I've been doing all this teaching and learning, but am I really in the place where I think I'm at? And if I commit to a relationship, it's going to bring everything up and show me, right? And so at the lights, I'm sitting there going, all right, Jesus. And I remembered Ted saying, often he would say, when you pray for something of the world and whatever, pray really specifically, right? Pray specifically, ask for exactly what you want. Then you'll be sure to recognize it when it shows up. So I prayed for an Asian girl. I'd never had an Asian girlfriend. I prayed for an Asian girlfriend, something new. I thought I'll just go, whatever. So I want an Asian girlfriend. I even had the age in there. I didn't care if she had kids. I didn't care. She had to be spiritual. She had to be interested in the course. She had to be whatever, Anyway, within 3 days, I'm getting a massage off Rosie, who would become my wife of 16 years. And she's Asian, Filipino woman, had one boy, was interested in doing the Course in Miracles because she told me, I've seen this van driving around town with the Course in Miracles on it. I really want to do that course. It's like, man, I got exactly what I asked for. And I had the best learning partner for 16 years. She pushed every button I had, which up until then, I was probably kind of kidding myself the fact that, I don't have any more buttons. I'm all healed now. I'm good. Because you can lie to yourself some shit, right? You can just lie to yourself and tell yourself, and the ego approves of that. The ego's, well, let's see. Jesus, let's give you a relationship because that's what you asked for, and let's see where you're really at, because you're working out your own salvation. So I had this relationship with Rosie, and whilst on one hand it was a beautiful relationship, it was physical on every level, the whole thing happened. Towards the end of that time, because I was in the active process of healing everything that came up, the original foundations and reasons for wanting to be in the relationship were part of the material that was healed as the original reason I wanted the relationship, right? And so the original foundation for the relationship fell away, and so did the nature of the physical attraction, everything. And it got to the point where I realized, this is done. And Rosie got to the point of realizing that this is done, and we decided to get a divorce and whatever. I mean, that was her choice, but it wouldn't have mattered. We could have stayed living together forever and, as true brothers in Christ without the need for the physicality of the relationship because we'd already transcended that in our own consciousness, But that's a point that most people don't take until they get to an older stage in life. Like, you're only a fairly young guy. It's like you got lots of mojo to go, and it's like you're going to want to be not fighting against that, but also you're not going to be wanting it to just play out at random and give you the shits for the rest of your days. right? Which is why in everything that we're doing, we're learning to be guided by the Holy Spirit. Who's the right person for this relationship with me, Jesus? Who's the right, where will I go? What will I say? All of these things. So when you're reading the course, he says specifically, ask me about everything, right? But you got to ask in prayer. And I love the story of, we were talking about it a while back, of Helen. She went out one day looking for a coat because it was getting cold or rainy or whatever it was. And she was out all day and couldn't find the exact kind of coat she wanted. And when she got back, she remembered, oh, I didn't ask Jesus. Jesus said, I've been waiting for you to ask me, right? Because free will, you don't have to ask Jesus. I've been waiting for you to ask me. He sent her to this store where she got the exact coat straight away. And then he kind of berated her a bit and said, if you had asked me this right from the get-go, you wouldn't have wasted the whole day. Right? We could have been writing down the Course in Miracles. So ask with everything. If you feel like you want a relationship, I would look at it. I mean, in your mind, like you're back and forth with all these ideas about stuff, but they're going to be hubbed around this kind of central theme of wanting to feel fulfilled. Now, if that feeling of fulfillment and the liberation that comes from finally feeling fulfilled seems to have to want to take the form of another person in your life for a moment, so be it. Why not? Right? There's no right or wrong. Whatever it is that's to your best advantage will be given you. Just bear in mind that everything that you want in form is yin and yang, right? It's going to come with all the stuff you want, and it's also going to come with all the other shit, right? If you're willing to accept that and take that on board, all good. Go ahead with my blessings and the blessings of the entire universe, like my son.
Yeah.
But that's all of us. We're not sinners because we're having a physical relationship. We're not out of order or any of that stuff. It's the purpose that we give to things. That's what defines how it is that we either benefit from it and come out of it closer to God, or how we get sucked in by it and lose ourselves in another cycle of misery and struggle and pointlessness, right? Anyway, where's Anna? Anna?
Hello.
Hello. I was told have you been feeling the energy this week?
Yeah, yeah. I felt it really, really strong actually yesterday. I feel
Cool.
kind of like off today.
That's okay. That's all right. Me and Tina have been feeling it pretty much all week as well. So it's very, very celestial. But so I was told last week for you and Tina to make an offering of teaching this week something. And the subject for today's Zoom is the perfection of all things.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, perfection in general. And this is, just so you know, you're being marked on this.
All right.
Weighed in the balance.
So the perfection of all things.
It doesn't have to be a long teaching, just from your heart.
Okay. I have a great resistance to teaching.
Mm-hmm. That's honest.
So, okay.
Remember, to teach is to learn. You have to hear yourself. When you speak the words, as you listen to those words, you will hear them. It's like doubling down on what you're saying. It's not just words. It becomes a living harmonic that you associate with, and you hold yourself accountable to it. And there's many ways you can teach. There's no limit.
So I'm gonna talk about fulfilling my ministry, what my ministry is.
Good.
And so I've been told that my ministry is my hands. My hands are my ministry. And currently I spend all day, all week, hands on with people at end of life doing massage therapy. And it's not something that I ever thought that I would be a part of, but it was given to me to do. And just a little backstory on that. Prior to doing massage therapy, I was a floral designer and I owned a florist for many years. I ended up selling my business, and everyone said to me, what are you going to do now? And I said, I don't know. And this is kind of just when I was getting into into different spiritual things. And I just said, I don't have a plan. I don't really know. So I was just waiting on guidance. And one day when I was picking my daughter up from school, we were driving on the way home, and we were passing by the massage school, and it was, had the big sign flashing, classes starting now, or classes starting soon. And so I just felt really strongly guided, and we just, pulled in there, and I went inside and I talked to them about the program. And I just felt like this is what I'm going to do. And I actually went to the bank, pulled out the cash, went and paid, and I started school 3 days later. And I had no idea like what a massage therapist makes as a salary. I had never had a massage in my life. I had never done any of that. It was just like this is what you're gonna do. Um, 6 months into school, I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter, and so I finished out massage school. I actually ended up having her a couple weeks before I graduated, and from there went out into the world, did a couple things, wasn't really what I was, wanting to do. And during the pandemic, nobody was working, everything was shut down. And I got a call from a career source that I had never even enrolled with or enlisted with or anything. And they said, we have a job for you at St. Francis. And I was like, okay. So I went to, they're like, it's a hospice. So I applied for the job and I started working for hospice during the middle of a pandemic. And that was pretty much actually when the course came to me too. It was like I got thrown right in. Um, I was just placed right in front of death from COVID, death from just people at end of life, hands on with these people were just right in the middle of all this chaos. And it was a perfect timing to start the mind training and to have Jesus and put Jesus in charge to guide me with every single thing that I was doing. And in the beginning, I didn't have the full, the understanding of, applying the principles and everything like that. But the unfoldment of it and learning about true forgiveness and applying that in every situation, every single thing that I encounter every single day is a forgiveness opportunity. It's an opportunity to offer my blessing to my brothers. And it's a good place to see where I'm at with my mind training, because a lot of things that used to disturb me don't disturb me anymore, but I can watch my cycles as my patients will say certain things to me, as certain things keep coming around again and again and again. And it's like, oh, I obviously did not forgive that because here it is again. And the deeper I go and the more horrific things that show up for me, I feel like I know the more work I do, the louder the ego gets. And I haven't had more sick people with, the worst diseases, or, you know, just horrific things, maggots falling from their wounds or their bones exposed from pressure sores, and just the smells of death, and I mean just horrific. And I leave that space open for Holy Spirit to come in when I feel that fear, when I feel that anxiety, when my patient presents something to me, will share with me some sort of dark secret, or just expressing their fears of death, and it's all me, it's finger on my nose. I never give advice in that situation. I'm silent and I let the Holy Spirit in. And you can feel the energy lift, you can feel the energy of the healing taking place, but it's just being in that remembering and not validating their suffering, joining them in truth, joining them in eternal truth. And it's perfect. And that's that's my ministry.
Good. Very good. That is
Thank
perfect.
Thank you.
That's a nice declaration. My tattoo studio was much the same as that kind of ministry. People would come in with all their stories of grievances and everything, and it was just finger on the nose, well, gloves on, but finger on the nose all the time, accepting atonement for myself. So, and the perfection of that was always, it's like you said, you can feel it, you can feel the energy shift, you can feel that whole, because you're learning to become tuned into those sensitive frequencies. Good. Tina?
Much like Anna,
Perfect.
yeah, I know. But it's perfect in exactly how it's presenting right now. In the idea that it's not perfect. In these moments, my mind has an idea of what perfection is meant to look like. And I'm told that right where I am right now is perfection. So it's always this learning that seems to be happening lately. Through the constant application of forgiveness, I have to say. It gets very close to this feeling really strong. No longer a concept, but the feeling of separation is so strong. And my mind projects out really convincing symbols of that separation being represented by replacement, rejection, unworthiness. And I look out and it says, yes, it's true. And I know that that's the only problem, is that I believe that I have separated from my source. And everything that seems to be appearing like this is representing that and is trying its best to convince me that it's true. And when I stand in that everything is perfect, right now, the whole idea of I need do nothing makes sense. There's this feeling that doesn't want to be expressed or had. So I will use the concept from the Course. I will use, they call it reframing things in my mind, anything except to let that feeling hit, that core feeling of separation hit. I'll do anything, 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 especially use the Course. When brother would say to me that I can use a concept to defend myself, I didn't understand that. You need to understand the concept, but they represent a principle that needs to be applied. And it's in that stillness, that moment where Jason, he just said this to you. It's that space. And it's terrifying. I don't want to feel this. And I've trained myself to not ever feel this. And it becomes more and more subtle, more and more subtle. But that, all I can do is trust. And I can't even. Like brother says, like, we rely on his certainty. I rely on his certainty. But that's not good enough anymore. That's not good enough anymore. That's not good enough anymore. I need an experience.
Yes.
And I have to here. I have to stand in this space. And it has to be miraculous. And the last week, it doesn't feel perfect. It doesn't feel perfect. I don't know what it's meant to look like. And God is so good. I keep rejecting that idea. God is so good. In the midst of it all, and I can see my own rejection, in the midst of it all, I'm in this space. And I want to insist that I'm right, that I'm unloved and I'm unworthy. I've got proof. I've got proof. I've got proof. But I can't change the form. The form, I can't change the form. It's this belief, it's this idea in my mind, which I have to allow to be changed for me. I have to allow something else. It has to be miraculous. It has to be done for me. I need do nothing. And I have to trust that. In the middle, though, God is so good. Allie comes through. I didn't want any of that. She comes through. She's so still. And I was telling brother, it feels like performative. She's coming through and I can't witness to anything other than perfection. I can't witness to my fear right now. I can't do that. I know I can't do that. She comes through. I have to give her everything I have. That's not me, though. That's not me. I want to reject you. I want to tell you no. I want to tell you leave me alone. Jason, yesterday, I want to tell you no. I got nothing for you, brother. I got nothing for you. But I can't do that. And you fucking healed me. That's how perfect it is. But when I have an idea about what that perfection is meant to look like, I'm always wrong. Right now, I'm just in the space where I have to be still. It is so hard. Jason, it is so hard. You said, I told you, you said the words I was feeling, and you called me. You were saying the words, I heard you say the words I was feeling. And in that place, I cannot move. In that place, I have to let God be God. I can't help God. I can't even petition God. And when brother talks about wear the carpet out with your knees, be more sincere. am, right where I find myself, right where I am. I can't get better first. I can't get more sincere first. I can't get embodied first. I have to come right where I am. And God is a fucking cruel and he can't take me where I am right now. And I got to trust that. And that's the perfection. That's the perfection. It's never my own stuff. Wish he'd let me rest. But that must be perfect too.
In for a penny, in for a pound.
I imagine if I rested, I would probably recover.
Probably.
It turned out to probably.
I rest in God.
But I don't know that till I know that.
Well, just let it all be miraculous.
Let it be miraculous. But Dave, I have to just say, this last week
Oh, I
got
know.
really, really intense. Really, really intense. But I have nowhere to go.
Good. I know
have
you have
nowhere
nowhere
to go. But my mind's giving me lots of options. I mean, it's like, and even like the reframing, like thinking about these things in form, like, well, maybe they don't really, or even using the course, it's not really real. There is no, I mean, that's not cool. There's a concept, there's a principle, it's an idea. I need to understand that the mind training is necessary, but I have to allow it to just be. I don't want to change anything in form. I don't want to change anything in form. I will accept everything. It's the belief, and I can't change things in form. So it looks like this. It looks like I'm being attacked. It looks like all of these things. I have to let that be true because I'm a holy son of God. I have to allow that to happen. It can't be moved. And that's my prayer. If my mind was healed, nothing would bother me. I can't make any exceptions to that. And until then, it's all perfect. I have to allow these things. And God is good. God is good. And I'm going to let God be God.
That's it.
That's it.
There's no choice. You don't have a choice. That's
No
the lucky
choice.
thing. That's the lucky part. To hear yourself say that you don't have a choice is a blessing. It gives you the right footing to be able to confront anything, to go through anything. And you will. The valley of the shadow of death has many tricks up its sleeve, many shadows, many different things show up, but it's all the same thing, an illusion, the whole thing. But you have to be where you find it. It's like, I think it's real. I think it's real. I'm making thoughts based on my belief that it's real. I'm reacting to those thoughts based on my belief that it's real, but none of it's real. There is no spoon. The place where transformation becomes the most unbearable is the closest to the portal where you pop out the other side of it. It's completely unacceptable to the human construct. It's completely opposite to what the ideas that I think love should look like. You know, remember, they crucified Jesus. They crucified him. I've never met anyone who's been crucified. I've never met anyone who's been scourged with whips for teaching love. And he knew he was going to be crucified. He knew he would be betrayed with a kiss. He knew it. And he went through with it all, as you will go through with it all, because within you is love. Within you is love, and that is what is pushing you through everything you have to go through, not Tina. Tina's learning to be willing to let it happen. Tina's learning to be willing to, and the same with me, same with everybody, learning to be still and not fill in that moment. And that's the whole deal. That's it in a nutshell. Don't adjust. What you are looking for is looking for you. And when you're willing to be still, it will find you, and you will find it like two magnets coming together. Boom. Love is looking for you. Just leave the door open. That's all. Don't adjust. Don't fill it up. Don't shut the door. And all of our mind training, all of it, supports the simple premise to be still and know that I am God. What that looks like in the playing out of the purification, in the playing out of the mind training, can be bloody horrible. You have to realize the falsity of your own belief in yourself. And a lot can be built on that. The Tower of Babel, built on false belief. And it all comes tumbling down, and you'll find that you just were as you have always ever been. People talk about enlightenment as a destructive force, as a destructive action. And it's death. It really is death. The death of the ego. In the worst possible way. The ego will make it the worst possible. If you're going to fight against the ego, if you're going to withdraw your allegiance from the ego, you watch what it does. It retaliates. It'll give you all kinds of reasons, all kinds of thoughts about stuff for you to break your service, for you to break your allegiance with Christ. And throughout all of that, you've got the prayer of the heart, the Holy Spirit. Father, help. I need help. And you'll find it. It's crazy land. It's crazy, like no man's land. You don't want to go to that place. But yet you have to be led back along the road that you've come. And the road that you've come is ugly. You've been going down and down a false road for many, many lifetimes, many, many incarnations, many, many belief cycles. Everyone exactly the same. Different stories, but the same energy, the same frequency. And here we are in the year 2025, and I can say as a story, some of us on our last incarnations, some of us on earlier incarnations, it doesn't really matter. If you're in this Zoom meeting, if you're reading this book, if you even have a copy of the book in your hands, it hasn't come to you by accident. It doesn't matter how you got it, even if you went and bought it in the bookstore yourself. It's no accident that you bought it. You're meant to have it. It's your time. I think last week I was telling you one of my favorite analogies for enlightenment, which is what purification is. It's the process leading up to revelation readiness, was by Ramana Maharshi, where he said it's like trying to squeeze an elephant into a matchbox. Now think of it, the elephant as your emotional body, and the matchbox as the portal whereby you came through. You're trying to push an elephant into a matchbox. and your ego screams at you, it's not going to fit. It's not going to fit. There's no way it's meant to be like this. This isn't how it could possibly be. But you're forgetting about the miracle. Let it be miraculous. You're not learning to trust in, well, you are learning to trust in your brothers in a sense, but your brothers will show you the trust that you have in God. You know, you're learning to trust in God overall. Your brothers are just symbols. And you'll see that initially you don't trust them. You'll see that initially all your skepticism that you've walked the world with, because you don't know why you're here. You know, it plays out even on the spiritual frontier. The ego will take spiritual concepts and it will knit them into this beautifully woven kind of dream of what spiritual should be. It's a lot of horse shit. It's a direct confrontation with fear. Now, fear in its totality is the same on the flip side as love in its totality. You know, but the ego doesn't want either. It doesn't want total fear because that ends its potential to be able to taunt you and tease you, which is what it likes to do. And it doesn't want total love because it has no control over total love. So it likes to keep you in this no man's land where you seem to be always in this process of transforming, healing. You know, and all the while Jesus is saying salvation's not beyond immediate learning. And the place you get to is finally getting so sick of your own game, getting so sick and tired of not knowing that you want an experience. But you can't fake it getting to that place where you want the experience, right? If there was a way to fake it, I would have found it by now. You can't fake it to God. God is the overseer of all fakeness. Not that God knows of fakeness, but it's like a square peg doesn't go into a round hole. And the round peg of your sincerity, of your total sincerity, is the full doneness of the world in you. And I know, Tina, you don't have much of the world left in you. I can see that. You kind of, you know, but you're probably going to butt up against that a few more times until finally you're bloody, you know, whatever it takes. It's only one lifetime. Big deal. I'll be here laughing anyway. Not laughing because you're going through hell, but laughing because I know that you've already done this. That threshold, the edge of the void, it's like in meditation. If you're truly still in meditation and you can hold that stillness for a few minutes, you'll feel yourself being drawn into the void, into the emptiness, into the nothingness. And the terror that brings up will push you out of it. You'll react to that terror, which is why learning not to react to that terror in these processes of healing individual relationship things that are symbolic of the one relationship is important. Like, this is all practice. This is all practice for that final moment. I'm not going to adjust. I'm not going to fill up that gap. I know how bad this gets. I know how ugly it is. I know how horrible the ego is, right? The next time you face it, you'll know that you got through it last time, and you'll face it with that increased faith. You'll face it with that increased courage. It's like, oh, this shit again. All right, let's do it. All right, bring it on. And that's how Jesus, when he says you've got to see yourself as a crusader. You know, it's like, fuck yeah, I'm done with this. I want the experience. Right? I'm not going to react to this next time it comes around. The next time my outside world gives me any kind of excuse to adjust and fill in that gap, I'm not going to. I'm going to draw my circle. I'm going to be still, and I'm going to let whatever this is happen, no matter how awful it gets. And it gets awful for a second. Like whatever you think awful is, whatever you think awful is, at the threshold of going into the void, it's the maximum awful it can possibly ever get. Once you're in the void, it's brilliant. There's nothing in there. It's like the bardo. There's nothing. It's just blackness. And then you just stay still. And it's like crossing a river, crossing a dark river in the middle of the night with no moonlight, and you don't know where the bank is on the other side, but there's a bank on the other side. All of a sudden, boom, you hit the bank and everything just disappears into light. I don't know the process for crossing the void. For me, it just happened automatically. By the time it was occurring and I recognized it was occurring, I didn't even have time to say, what the? It was so quick, right? But the preamble to crossing the void looked like a deep dive into the most suicidal, horrible, darkest place I've ever been in my life. It was the emotional bottom. I couldn't go any deeper, and I knew I couldn't go any deeper. It was 1,000 lifetimes of despair, all piled up, all in one moment. And it looked like being fetal on my floor in the lounge room. But I knew it was coming. I just didn't know what it was. I knew I couldn't take the way that my mind was going. I just didn't know what to do about it. I didn't have the course or anything. And then finally, in the moment where it happened, all I had was the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5. All I had was that. And all of that came rushing back to me, and it poured out of me. It poured out of me like liquid love. It was just a prayer that came from some place. I don't know where it came from, but it saved me in that night. That prayer just came up. And like Jesus says in the Course, God himself put that prayer in your heart. You know when you do a bungee, you ever done a bungee jump? It's that final second when you just go, fuck it, I'm doing this, and you just jump. But you're 500 meters on a cliff top somewhere, and you can just scream the world down up there. No, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And then the next thing you're going, and you don't even know how you took that step. It just happened, and boom, And then it's done. So that's good stuff. Any questions, anyone? That was good, I like it. Yeah, it's perfect. The process is perfect. There is nowhere to go. Deb? Ali?
David and Robert are trying to raise their hand. Are David saying bye?
Robert?
Ali, you
I
trying
reckon
to...
so. Robert's got a question.
Robert,
Hey, bro.
You good? Can you get on?
You have to tap that microphone.
Does that help? There you go.
There you go.
Okay, here we go. Oh my gosh, I had like something to talk about for the past hour and a half. So Tina kind of made me remember something. Is my sound okay?
Yeah.
Something occurred to me today, and just now I was thinking of like what it was like going through this process a few years ago. And you were just talking about how dark it is, and it is the dark night of the soul. But the idea that occurred to me was let your past catch up to you. It's like we try so hard to keep the past in the past, but is that, and then I remember when I was going through it, it was like I was collecting shards of myself left throughout time because we become separated into all of us people pieces, but also our individual minds have fragmented into time, which appears linear. So basically, for every memory we have, it's a fragment of ourself left in time. So the process is sort of like, okay, remember that thing? I think somebody, maybe Carlos Castaneda, that is it. They call it recapitulation. So it has to come into the present and instantly like forgive it to accept it back into your reality, your wholeness, because we're just shattered all over, and I can see everyone's just like broken. They think the forward time is important and the backward time is important, but it's it's like, and then you just said bungee, and that was weird because it is like that. The past bungees up to you, and is a process of like staying human and keeping keeping it not. I don't know. It was weird, but basically, there is nothing to know but what you are in truth. I don't know. I want to also mention atonement. Atonement, I figured out, and you were talking about those links. It is like that. Atonement is it's a constant process of I forgive this. And it's not specific. It's just the whole show. The fact that I agreed to be here, I forgive that. I forgive this constantly. It's one everlasting state of acceptance. So that's what I got for now. I guess I could talk about everything perfect, but I don't agree with you on that. It would probably be somewhat of a debate.
Everything's always perfect. Let me give it to you this way then, Robert. Right, this is everything's always perfect from a different angle. Right, you're learning to develop an attitude of gratitude to everyone for everything for the part that they've played for you.
Yeah,
Right, through forgiveness.
right.
In that, the part they've played for you must have been perfect because it's brought you to the point where you can see that through your own efforts, they avail you nothing. You would be forever lost in time without your brothers. And when you say that the past catches up to you, it's a true thing, right? But it's not that you've left fragments of yourself in time. The fragment of yourself is right here and now, being played out again as it has been being played out, one idea throughout time, right? But it seems like, I mean, this is why I don't get into Carlos Castaneda and I like Jesus. You know, I followed Carlos Castaneda for a fair while and did all the hallucinogenics and tried every kind of fungi that I could. And it got me all kinds of fucked up, to be honest. But when Jesus says the past is over, let it go, that's what he means. The future never comes. Don't worry about looking for it. That's what he means, right? Now, if I don't understand what he means by that, it doesn't mean he's wrong. It just means I don't understand, right? Now, what happens when I choose to forgive, I'm releasing the future and the past to be itself, to be exactly what it was for me. In that, I'm standing here. I'm refusing to budge. I'm refusing to compromise by validating the past or the future, by thinking that I need to dive into it or not, and I'm allowing the Holy Spirit to collapse the past and the future, and it brings cause and effect, the Alpha and the Omega, which is the past and the future, to me in the present, right? So it's the one belief in separation, the one fragment in my mind being played out through the myriad symbology of time and space, none of which has any reality, right? So I'm looking at it as if it has reality, but I can't actually prove it because I can't actually find the past. All I can do is dredge up memories. Like Jesus says, it's not there, but if you would have it be there, then there it is in your memory, right? But it doesn't mean that it's actually there. It doesn't mean it's actually true. And the same for the future. There is literally only this moment playing out as not again and again and again, but as one moment. But the mind is a tricky thing. It's cunning, baffling, and everything. It says, oh, well, that's the same thing that I read in the course yesterday, or that's similar to what somebody else says, or that's this. And it's all based on past learning, which is what Jesus would have you unlearn. Okay? So in the idea that everything's always perfect, I've been learning one perfect lesson through interactions in every relationship I've had throughout all of time in my imagination, right? Throughout all of time, again and again and again in different forms. And it seems like because it takes different forms that I leave different aspects or different fragments, to use your word, in those relationships, okay, or in those places. And somehow when I atone, I have to atone for those. Right? But the atonement brings the past and the present together into the future to show me that there was never any need for forgiveness in the first place. There never was any fragmentation. Nothing ever happened. Right? And that's Papaji. I love that teaching by Papaji. Nothing ever happened. Nothing is occurring now. Right? But the belief that nothing is occurring now is one that's hard to digest because we seem to be here having a conversation and having this Zoom thing, and there seems to be something happening, which is why you have to have the experience of stepping out of your body, looking back, seeing that there's actually nothing going on at all, and then you come back in to teach it, right? So like Jesus says in the Course, some see it on point of death and then rise again to teach it. Because as you teach it, what you're doing is you're reinterpreting the false defense mechanisms of the old mind that perpetuate time and space to bring them into alignment with the Christ frequency. It's one thing to have the experience, and it's the second thing to harmonize with it. Okay? So the experience and the mind training come together. I need the experience and I need the purification of my mind. The experience shows me the truth, and the purification of my mind allows me to harmonize towards it, lining up all of my ideas of what a relationship should look like or should be, recognizing the falsity because I don't know what a relationship's meant to look like or be, and accepting that it's all perfect, right? So when you say we might have a debate about the idea that there's maybe that's not all perfect, I've got nothing to debate. That would also be perfect. And there's a place in my mind where I struggled with at one time the idea, how is everything perfect? How is it perfect for those people in that country to suffer? How is it perfect for these forests to be cut down? How is it perfect? How is it perfect? It's like you got to look where you find yourself. You know, I have to look where my feet are. Holy shit, I am in a realm of death. Where the mandate for everything here is pain and suffering and death. That's it. Like Jesus says in the Course, the world is a place where all things come to die. Right? And that's perfect. This is part of the journey of the soul where I come to experience what death is so I can know myself. I can awaken myself. It's like into eternity, that tiny mad idea. It's like, what am I? That's what the tiny mad idea is. Or one very similar. What am I? Yes, God, I am your creation, but what is that? Yes, I'm a drop of water in the ocean, but what does that mean? You have to be the drop of water before you can realize that you belong in the ocean. It's like the story of the prodigal son. You have to realize that your destiny is to be a cobbler of shoes, not to be an entrepreneur in the world and make millions of dollars. you know, and the whole journey of walking away from the Father, walking away from the family home and coming back, everything is perfect in that journey because it's going to show you the one thing. And if you're willing to see the one thing, you'll accept the perfection of it. If you're still not willing to see the one thing, you'll want to debate about it, you know, and that's fine, but I've got nothing to debate.
All right. I mean, you kind of said it all, but
Uh-huh.
a clear distinction must be made between what is created and what is made.
Yes.
What is made is wrong-mindedness. And you can't tell a person who is in the state of wrong-mindedness that this is perfect. We can all apparently see
Right.
things are not perfect. But
Right.
I've had so many experiences out of this body and in the heavenly realm now. I've forgotten most of it. I just live in the present now, knowing I have full faith that the state of eternity that I experienced is forever. And
Yes.
I see the world as it is, this state of wrong-mindedness, which everyone has to come out of before this is finished. Yes, in eternity, it was an instant, only one instant, it was fixed. You pop right out the other side, I think, is what actually
Yep.
happens. But while
Yep.
you're in here, this thing gets like stretched out like a spaghetti noodle. I I believe I have full faith. Yes, in the end, it's perfect. It's all already worked out. But it is
Right.
not perfect here. It is not perfect. The
It's
world
it's
is
perfect in
a
its
bunch of,
imperfection of it.
pardon me.
It's perfect in its imperfection. It's meant to be imperfect.
Yeah, yeah, for learning, I get it. That's all fine, but
Right.
I mean,
But
I
everyone will come to the point where they want a better way. Right? It's like when you said you can't tell
yeah,
somebody that it's perfect who's in the experience of the imperfection of things. That's true. You
it's
know, it's
needed.
not
I
it's
agree.
not until the mind opens enough that it wants to learn of a better way that it can come to um, navigate the concepts around which it can understand that the imperfection of the world as a place where, like Jesus says, it's a poor excuse for a home for the Son of God. Hey, there's Oric. Hey, it's not until you can take that on board that you can accept the perfection of the imperfection. It's like, holy shit. All right, well, I don't want to stay in the imperfection anymore. The only way, the closest thing on earth to perfection here is abiding with the Spirit. And that's going to take me through the navigation of what you said, like the whole past and the future and everything like that in my own mind, so I can see that I'm only ever present in God and one in God right here, right now. You know, but as soon as you take that first step into the past or into the future, it's like a slippery dip. Whoop! And it seems
Right,
very,
and
very real again, right? It seems real
that
all over again.
that is the moment that's being repeated over and over. The
Right,
moment
exactly.
you dip your toes into it, and I did do the course too. I did it exactly as it said. Like, all I think this is the most important part is that every lesson has to be done specifically as the
Right,
instructions say. This is the mind training. You don't need to
exactly.
fix nothing. Just do this thing. The ideas that you need to repent will come to you as you're doing the lessons. And then after that's done, something magical happens and you come out the other side. There's like almost nothing left to teach. I'm just like, just do the course and you'll know everything. And then
Right.
you, I don't know how to make people do the course because I can't come out here and say, oh, I've had these divine experiences in the heavenly realm and talk about that because we're here in the world. It doesn't make sense. It's
Why
just
can't you
gonna,
come out? Jesus says, what you hear in the ear, shout it from the rooftops. Why can't you?
It's too far out. People with
According to
normal
who?
people thinking brain,
According to
everyone I've
who?
talked
Look
to,
how many
everyone
look how many
I've ever
people are on
talked to.
this Zoom meeting. Look how many people are on this Zoom meeting that don't think it's too. I don't think it's too far out. If I saw you on a street corner, let's say, just as a very rough example, and you were saying, "Hey, I've been outside my body," blah blah blah, I'd come over and listen. You don't know who I am from Jack. I'd be like, "Good on you, brother."
I think what has happened
So
is
what?
that
You'd
I've
be
taken
surprised
the,
how many people are waiting for you to say that, to declare
okay,
yourself.
I I know the first experience I had, I poofed up out of the world. It was instantly gone. And I was in a state, is definitely a conscious state. And I know this because the only thing I had left was an I am presence. And the place that I wound up was eternity. I knew it inherently. And what I also knew that he was my father and I was his son. I've never been religious, never believed in Jesus or anything really. I mean, I thought it was kind of a kooky story, but he said he overcame death. So I actually believed him.
So tell me
Okay,
this.
yeah,
Tell
yeah.
me this. I just want to deal with that one experience, right? Because that's the only
Oh,
one
I'm
that I'm
not
really.
done yet. There's some I
No,
gotta like
I'm not worried
okay,
about
go.
those. Just this one, all right? That one's all you need to tell, okay? If that's the experience you've had, why do you feel the way you feel about telling it to people?
Because I think I took my regular people in my life who weren't meant to wake up in this life. And I've been trying to beat it in their head since I've been waking up. I'm like, come on, come along with me. We can all go together. It's going to be great. We're all learning. But everybody just boom, boom, boom. Like when I tell the story of an experience, I think for most people, it sounds like just that. It's just an experience. But
Right.
to me, it wasn't just an experience. To experience eternity and unconditional love, holy, I mean, okay, I'm in this place. He's my father. I'm his son. It was masculine, no doubt, 100% masculine God, masculine son. And what I was perceiving was like basically a ball of light. I'm using words. I say light, but it was living. Plasma might be close. I don't know, but it was explosive, orgasmic. I have to use this word because there's nothing
I
even
get it.
close to this
I get it. I've been there.
explosive love. So I'm like exploding in love, and there's this understanding that love is being given to me in the light is the result of this eternal moment of creation. And then I just poof, just as fast as the world was gone, the world was back. And I was sitting in my car in a parking lot, and I had like a little bit of residual like joy after that. And I was like, oh yeah, that was the real deal. And I had like peace. But not that was the turning point. Not everything I do in the world, I can't do without reflecting on that eternal state. Now, I've had like several other experiences. And when I say I see time as like stretched out. I've seen it. I've actually witnessed it. I remember now coming into Earth, standing at sort of this like event horizon as a speck of light in the sunship of a whole glowing explosion of light with a brother. We're kind of like holding hands, even though there were no bodies. And the last thing we sort of like said was, don't forget. And then boom. And then like earth,
Forget.
time, the whole thing. You forgot. Yeah. Yeah. So now, like, I just got out of a intimate relationship, and the whole time I never saw it as a special relationship, as in like the way I knew them to be in the past. Every day was new. I'm like, wow, this is so exciting. It's such a mystery. I don't understand. Like, I know now that everything is about forgiveness. The atonement is real, and it's important that we complete this thing. So I was like looking at it in a holy purpose. And I told her from the beginning, I only see the Christ in you. You're nothing but light. Jesus, everything. Jesus, how giving her like little lessons how to like make this part of her life. And all she ever did was said, no, that's not true. No, that's not true. No, that's not true. No, that's not true. Until she said, you're a bad person now. Get out of my life. And I'm like, I'm telling you, it's bad. People don't want to come out of this delusion. And there's nothing that you could teach them. You could tell them they're light all day long, and as long as they have the belief that this world is first and foremost, then you're cooked. There's no foundation here.
All right, let me offer you this. Jesus will send those to you who can hear this from you. Okay? The experience of your oneness that you had is sacred. Keep it sacred. I did the same thing as you. As soon as it happened, I raced to my parents' place. I went to my family, everybody I knew. Guess what just happened to me? And I tried to tell them the whole thing. And they couldn't hear it. They like, what drugs were you on? You know, what were you taking? And all this sort of stuff. They couldn't hear it, right? I had a spontaneous or not really spontaneous, by the grace of God, awakening, exactly the same. Eternity, I and he and me, Father and Son, the same thing. It's the one relationship, like Jesus says. A universal theology is impossible, but a universal relationship is not only possible, but it's necessary, right? Now, Jesus, not you, Jesus will send to you who needs to hear this from you. You only have to be willing to allow the Holy Spirit to use you with your witness, with your certainty, to speak on his behalf when those moments arise. That might be one person in your incarnation. It might be 50. It might be 100. It might be 1,000. Right? I remember when I went to see Amachi at Coolangatta at the hall, I'd never seen another guru, a legitimate guru that had an awakening. And it was packed. There was like 1,000, 1,200 people in there sitting. You couldn't squeeze another person. There was people outside in the car park. It was just crazy, right? But the funny thing is, she taught in Tamil. Now, nobody technically understands Tamil unless you're from Eastern traditions, unless you're an Indian-born person that grows up speaking Tamil. She had an interpreter who interpreted a couple of the prayers into English for the crowd, but basically she taught in Tamil. Now, even though she taught in Tamil, and even though no one could understand it, I felt it. Because what she was teaching wasn't the words, wasn't the thing. She was teaching from her certainty. She was expressing a vibration. When you are willing to express that vibration of the certainty of your mind based on the experience that you've had, even if you're on a mountaintop in the middle of the Himalayas, the people that are meant to find you will find you. Right? There is no way it cannot happen because cause and effect are brought together. And that's what that experience in your mind shows you, that your cause and your effect have been brought together. Now, your cause is my thoughts of the world, and the effects of it are the symbolic situations that seem to show up out there, which will come back to me to represent the opportunity for forgiveness. Right? I don't have to worry about why no one can hear me. I don't have to worry about what people think about me. I just stand here, declare. I used to stand on the freaking street corner in a robe, in a white robe, feeling like a fool, but I knew I had to do it. And the Hare Krishnas used to stand on the opposite street corner handing out Bhagavad Gitas. And I would stand there handing out these little things that I printed with hearts and smiley faces on and giving them to people. Here, read A Course in Miracles. And you know what? 1,000 of those things I must have given out. And a couple of years later, some guy found me in the street and he goes, "Aren't you the guy that used to stand on the corner in the robe, da-da-da-da-da?" And I'm like, "Yep, that's me." And he goes, "I wanted to thank you." He said, "I went and got that Course in Miracles and it's totally changed my life." You know, but there was no need for me to even meet that guy. I was just there. I wasn't there for the verification of my story. I knew my story was true. I didn't need somebody out there to tell me it was true and to join with me and going, "Wow, that's incredible, that's true." Like Jesus said, if they deny you, know that they denied me first, right? I was simply there to give away my love in that particular form at that time, and that's what it looked like. I had to stand on the rooftop and I had to shout, not because I think people are ready or not ready, but because I had to stand on the rooftop and shout. That was my deal. The energy was in me so much from that awakening, all I could do with it was literally stand and shout. It would have blown me to a million pieces if I hadn't. The light was in me going crazy. My body was having spasms. I couldn't stop laughing for like 4 to 6 months, all day, every day. I was feeling like blessed and in love just from that moment on for God knows how long. And I was completely infectious to the point that people ran away from me. That kind of infectious. I was too much to handle. It took me a lot of integration. It took me a lot of mind training to finally home and bring down and control, not really control, but to integrate the realization and the usefulness that Jesus would have me be for humanity to a place where I was manageable. To a place where I can sit and talk about it now, and Jesus can send people to me and I can talk to them on their level and bring them up a little bit. Help them to see what's the next thing. You know? But I had to start somewhere. And when you say to me, because people aren't ready, that's why I don't go telling them, and because they react a certain way, I say, who cares? Who are you representing? God or your ego? If you're representing God, it's like, let them throw stones at you. So did the prophets. What do you care? I'm either here unconditionally in service, or I'm not here at all. I'm either here to just give my love away with no concern for my body, no concern for how people treat me or what they think of me, or I'm not here in presence at all. And that's a process. That's this whole thing of purification. And you're in it now, whether you actually acknowledge and recognize that now or not. In this Zoom meeting, that's the reason you're here.
Yeah, I is so weird because now I love you, Dave. I've been kind of around you a couple years. When I did the course, yours was one of the channels I would check in with every morning. You were reading a white book. I want to witness to Foundation for Inner Peace because that's the only version I ever studied, and it worked perfectly exactly as it said.
That's the one I first had too.
So it just kind of like eats me up when people are like, "This version's better." Just
No, don't worry
whatever you
about
come across, go for it.
Don't worry about that. Just serve God.
Oh, I guess I'll just ramble out one more thing I want to talk about. It kind of goes along with this in my how this place isn't perfect. One of my brothers who I've been dragging along this process with me, who is intellectual, spiritual, willing to think outside the box and all that. I've been kind of like giving him every nugget I got along the way, and he always appreciative. Well, along the way of my knowing what this world, what's supposed to happen and all that, I've kind of become an anti-natalist. I guess they have a word for it, and I would say stop breeding. Nobody is consciously on the level to positively raise a human being with the right understanding of everything. Stop. No more breeding. Anyway, this friend of mine who I've been growing with and learning a lot from as well, he just like goes and has a kid. And I'm like, I can't see from my perspective if I've been learning about God for 3 years and how hard this place is to like then go have a kid. So I was like, all right, that was my most recent thing where I'm like, all right, Jesus, I actually trust you because I have no idea. You must I, I know time is a long way off, and that's why it was sort of hard for me to go, okay, brother, I don't get it. But on the other hand, I'm like, okay, Jesus, in the long run, this is going to happen. Who knows how much time is left to happen and how many more people are coming in. But it really is. I don't know anything. I don't feel qualified to come out here and tell anybody anything because I keep getting proven wrong.
Thank God. A joy to be wrong. It's always a joy to be wrong. Then you can be open to the correction, right?
Yeah, and
Unless
that's
I
where I'm at now.
unless I can see that I'm wrong, I cannot be corrected. I will stamp my foot and believe that I'm right in my opinions and everything, including my spiritual opinions, right? But let me give you the truth about, because you mentioned about having a kid and etc. etc. He is not having a kid. She is not having a kid. That is the appearance of things. What is actually going on is another soul coming for an incarnate part of their journey, and it's all perfect, you know.
Yeah.
And we are clunky learners. We are very clunky learners. We don't know how to raise a kid. We don't know how to do anything. I mean, we have shows on TV that show us that we don't know how to raise a kid, like Super Nanny. You
Right.
know, if you ever watch Super Nanny, it'll become completely apparent to you that nobody knows what the hell they're doing, except for
Oh,
Super Nanny.
I actually had parents, so as a child of parents, I can
Right,
vouch that nobody knows
right.
what they're
Mine were
doing.
the same. Mine were the same. They brought me up. They were parents of a post-war generation, and they brought me up best they knew how, not to trust anyone. That was their major advice, because during the war, trusting people meant that you could be trusting a spy and you could get everybody killed. So you didn't allow your love and your humanity to flow into a place where it was just this open area with relationships. You always kept part of yourself guarded, you know, and that's how I was taught as a child, and that killed me, because I knew that wasn't I didn't know what was better, but I knew that didn't sound right, you know. It's like, that sounds like a lot of horse shit. Why do I have to bloody not trust anyone? How am I supposed to have a girlfriend and not trust her? You know, it's like, aren't I allowed to make mistakes? Aren't I allowed to get it wrong? Of course. That's the whole point. Let's all get it wrong together and have a bloody good laugh about it.
I think
That's
that's
it.
a really good point too about trust. I think
Right.
everyone in this world has built a distrust because the world has nothing but lied to them. And then when a truth teller comes along and tells the truth, they're not, they don't know how to, they think it's a lie or some new
Right.
conspiracy or some new age woo woo. And I'm not talking about
Right.
it's
And
not a
Robert,
conspiracy.
hear it this way. You ready? You're going to tell them, and they're going to think it's a lot of woo woo, but somewhere for them to be able to think it's a lot of woo woo, it got in. right? Because what you're telling them isn't words and concepts. You're expressing the light of your mind. You're planting a seed. It got in. The fact that they deny it is proof of the pudding that it got in. It's like Jesus says, you have to deny the Christ before you will embrace him. Right? You have to admit that you deny God. I mean, there must be in that factor a God for you to be able to deny in the first place. So you don't worry about the receipt of your message. You are just the messenger. You are not to be concerned about how people receive it. Just give it. That's it. If they call
No,
you
I
a
agree.
woo and look at you like you need mental help, that's fine. Just keep going, keep laughing, keep moving. Look how many guys we have come to our Zoom meetings and they all say they want God. I'm looking for God. I'm looking for purification. How many will stick it out to the end? I don't know. Certainly being in a Zoom meeting is no criteria of that, but it's an indicator of like how willing am I to use this brother, let's say, like the old man would say, if you use me to my maximum capacity to you to evolve, I will guarantee you that it will save you thousands of years of trying to learn this on your own terms. You know, but not everyone can hear that.
Oh, that was another thing I was thinking of. You sort of like you talk about this thing, but it is so important what A Course in Miracles teaches that the world isn't quite grasping. Your brother is the most important part of
Right,
your return home. It is always going to be the other person. And some of my earliest sort of like wake ups was seeing the other person, seeing the Holy Spirit around the other person. And it was like the person didn't even matter. I just saw the energy that was like the screen or whatever. But it's always the brother, and they always come with gifts. That's the it's hard to accept gifts because it breaks your normal way of thinking,
right,
but the gift is, yeah. So sometimes I give gifts and people think it's like a sharp object, and they kind of drop it
right,
real quick.
right. The old man used to say a little bit of godliness is tolerable, but total godliness is abhorrent to the world. The world is a place
Man,
that fundamentally denies God. And it takes a strong soul, it takes a strong spirit to say, fuck that, I'm going to live my life from spirit and do it 100%. Hey, Arlene, it's like exactly that way. It's like total passion, total mind, total heart together with no concern for an outcome. You know, you think if, who was it baptized Jesus? John. If John had a thought, shit, I could get my head cut off by these weirdos that don't believe anything I'm saying here, you think he would have kept about baptizing people in the river? Of course he would. It was his divine calling. You can't change your divine calling even if you want to. The possibility that you think you can or that you could do something other than what you're meant to do here is the idea of potential, which is nothing more than an illusion. So the fact that you're here now and I'm telling you that it's perfectly okay for you to shout this from the rooftops without being concerned about it is something that you can look at and something that you can take on board in your own association and allow to permeate beyond the place in you where you think that you're going to be rejected. Because you've already been accepted by God, and if you're still looking for the acceptance of humanity for permission to go ahead and do that or for some kind of reflection in that regard, you're going to be waiting a long, long time. The world will always be against you, right? But you're true. Those brothers will bring you many, many gifts. And often those gifts are going to be the fact of the matter that you're going to see that what Jesus says about if the world hates you, know that it hated me first. He's right about that. Nobody wants to hear this message. Nobody. I'm with you. I'm totally on board. And yet here I am speaking the message because 2 in 10,000 will hear this. Right? And that's straight out of the Bible. 2 in 10,000 will hear this. I like to think that since the days where Christ walked in sandals, that consciousness has raised up enough that now we've got like 10 or 12 of us here in 2000 and who all want to hear this, But it's like I have to undergo my process of purification in order to be able to present it in a way that's reasonable and in a way that's tactile and physical, that people can look at it and go, okay, maybe I don't quite hear what he's saying, but I hear that there's something there, right? Which is exactly how I was with my teacher. I knew when Ted was sitting there talking from his experience of being out of time, I knew that because I'd had an out of time experience as well, I knew he was saying something relatable, but the way that he was relating to it was in order for him to be able to offer me a ladder to get to where he is, to offer me a leg up to get to where he is. And it took for me to find that in my own association before I could see the step which was right in front of me. Does that make sense?
Totally. You know,
Right.
I never had a teacher. I taught myself everything, and it was
Right.
all about
I can
seeking.
tell.
It's all about 100% seeking desire. Like I wanted God more than everything else, and so it just came to me.
Right. And Tina's very close to that point. She wants
I
God more
see
than
that.
anything else. She's just
I
starting
love
to
the
realize how close she's getting to that point.
I love the vulnerability, because if you got
Right.
that, you're no
Right.
longer
Exactly.
squeaky clean. If you're sitting over here squeaky clean, you're projecting guilt everywhere else and not just accepting it. And when we can see that, I feel like crap. This sucks. Yeah, and
Right.
and show it, give it away. No private thoughts.
But
Yeah, it's awesome.
everyone comes to it in their own time at their own pace. And it's like the only thing I'm doing by sitting here really, and you and anyone else that's had a true moment, is representing that in a way that hopefully is recognizable. You know? But it's like the idea of physician heal thyself. I had to undergo all kinds of levels of shit, and I wouldn't want to have to go through it again for all the tea in China. But if I could do it for you, I would. And if I could do it for Tina, I would. But all I can do is stand here knowing that she's already done it at some point because, and you might find this interesting, because the experience of eternity that you had didn't happen to you in time. It happened at the end of time or before time was. You're now back in time before that experience happened.
Yeah.
It's not linear. Right? You're back in time before you had that experience. Right? And you're learning to true up to it. You've been shown what's possible and you're learning how to get there. And this Zoom meeting, this Course in Miracles, the Brotherhood, everything is part of Jesus's plan to help you get to consciously, mentally, physically, spiritually, metaphysically, whatever, to that place that was shown to you, that state of mind that was shown to you in that experience. And the state of mind that was shown to me in the experience was exactly the same one as it is shown to you, which is the state of is, not the state of I am, the state of is. It just is.
Yeah. Yes, totally. And that I believe it. I think it's universal. And the Course in Miracles is like, it's a 1 year focused course to find this thing. It's like, I think it's guaranteed. I don't know how people say, oh, I did the course in the 90s and they haven't come to this conclusion. Do the course legit. If it says every 15 minutes, tie a string around your finger and remind yourself every 15 minutes until the course
I
is
used to
all
write it
you
on my
think
arm,
about.
this big black pen. I write it on my arm every day for a year, the heading of the, so I wouldn't forget.
I was
And
making
that was
wallpaper.
incredible. That's where the shit happened. You know?
Yeah.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love you. I love
I
you.
love you, Dave. I love this. This is awesome. Thanks for letting me vent. I haven't talked to a human being in a long time.
You know, I watched a video the other day of this guy. He wasn't really complaining. He was just sort of like flabbergasted about it. He's somebody that's obviously had an experience, and he's got his own ministry thing going on. And he's like, man, people are just awakening all over the planet. And it's like, yes, of course they are awakening all over the planet, because we're living in the time of the awakening. We're living in the time of the resurrection. But it's like somebody's got to be there to represent the mind training to them, so that when they have their awakening experiences, they know what the hell to do with it, rather than just having it turn in on itself and go drive them batshit crazy because they can't correlate the world against it. You know? So it's like, with you being here, me being here, Tina, and all these other guys, even Ali, who's brand new, the most important person in our room right now, it's like This is the whole point of what we're here for, to represent. This is the new purpose of this Zoom meeting, is I want to be here to represent this course, because Jesus is going to send people to me, and I've got to know what to offer them. You know, it's like I want to be able to give them a book. I want to be able to go, here, do these lessons. It'll help you to make sense and help you to integrate what's just happened to you. And, you know, and then other people will come to you that are looking for God and are pursuing some sort of spiritual discipline. And you'll be like, here, take this book. It'll help you to make sense of what's going to happen to you and prepare you for that occurrence. You know,
I love it.
the actual experience is up to God. It doesn't matter how it occurs. Whether, you know, like my friend Willem, who was my sponsor in AA for about 3 years, he had his full awakening like you, sitting in a car on the side of the road in West Australia in the middle of nowhere. He pulled his car over to the side of the road, realized the futility of his whole life, and just couldn't go on. Couldn't start driving again. He was just like dead in that moment behind the wheel, cried out to God in a total heart-opening prayer because he had literally nothing left. He was answered. And when I went traveling many years later after that, his wife had told me he hadn't experienced whatever over in West Australia on the side of the road going from whatever town to whatever town. There was 3 of us in my car, all Course in Miracles students. We got to that point, not knowing where that point was, but all of us felt this intense energy, like this portal, and we had to pull the car over in the exact same spot he pulled over, and we had to do a light session to transmute all the energy of his prayer, his experience, everything that was left like a marker on a pinboard, you know, like this happened here, boom. And if you're sensitive and you drive through those things, it's like people go to Stonehenge and shit, and they say, oh, I feel the energy. Or, you know, I go to India, I went to Ramana's place and I felt the energy, whatever. That may be a true thing. But it's like your experience happened there, and it's like you teach from that, from where it happened, from where it seems to have occurred. It's like for you, man, write a book, do anything, like put it together in a way that makes sense to you as an offering, and then be unattached to where it goes from there. You know, just like, don't worry about trying to change the world. Don't worry about trying to wake people up. Just declare yourself. Just declare yourself. Stand on the rooftop and shout. That's it. That's all you got to do. Because that vibration of your declaration, it travels to the far reaches of the universe and back. And when it comes back, it's going to bring back to you everyone that can hear it, everyone that feels it, everyone that gravitates to it and says, suddenly I need to go to wherever, you know, wherever Robert lives in America, whatever town that is. I don't know why I got to go there. I just feel called to go there and blah, blah, blah. That's what your vibration does, right? It's powerful. It's more powerful than you wondering about it, right? Shout it out. Let it resonate throughout the universe and let it come back. And according to whatever timeline you're in, it's going to come back retro whatever, you know, like according to that, right? And you'll find that you'll meet people. You'll find people just turn up and be like, I don't even know why I'm here, they'll say to you. I just know I got to be here. I just got to read this book. I just got to do these. I don't know why. It's because of you, right? But you've got to be willing to give it away. Just who cares? Who cares what that looks like, that giving away? It's like in Krishna consciousness, they teach total service without attachment to results. You know, total service, no attachment. I don't care if people say thank you for my efforts. I don't care if they say, oh, you're full of shit. It doesn't affect me one way or the other. And if it does affect me, then I need healing. Because I'm been verified by God already. What do I care what the figures in my dream think? Jesus says you would not react at all to the figures in your dream unless you fail to recognize that it's your dream, your illusion. Once God verifies you, once God calls you, this is my son, you cannot enter into the presence of God without that verification. There's nothing else in the world that is going to bring you any kind of joy, happiness, verification, any kind of credibility, anything. You know, all these guys are out on the world stage. All these guys like Eckhart Tolle, and I love Eckhart, you know, beautiful guy. and Hoffmeister and all these other guys that are out there doing stuff, you know, it's not coming back to them in that way. Because they're simply promoting. It's not that living of truth. It's not the living of that thing, of that experience. There's a difference. It's like Jesus says, many will say, my Lord, I served you and I did what you said, you know, and Jesus says, get away from me. You know, in the end days, get away from me.
I knew you not.
I know you not. That's right. It's not about proselytizing. It's about being free from attachment, free from outcomes, free from any agenda.
You know, I think
I'm here to represent him who sent me. That's it. What's that meant to look like? I don't know. The Spirit will direct, and I'll just say yes, wow, and thank you, and I'll go with whatever comes next. You know,
that's
it's that
really
easy.
it.
That's it.
Really, thanks for having me. Thanks everyone for letting me kind of share my stuff. Had fun.
Thank you, Robert.
Hey, brother, peace.
Eric has been waiting to
any-
talk to you. You got it.
Anyone else?
Eric and Edward. I don't know. Eric might be asleep now. You sleep?
Edward?
No, Eric and Edward. Order if y'all want to be like that.
I want to hear from Emily. What's going on, Emily? Just for a second. Uh-oh. Hang on. We'll get back to Edward and Eric. Oh, she's not there.
Oh.
Oh,
Hello.
hey, what's going on with you? I know what's going on with Harry. He's looking good.
Really? I don't know. Yeah, I was doing really, really good. Well, I had a beautiful day yesterday, and then today I've felt like I've been in hell a bit again. So
just stay
I
there.
resonated with what Tina was saying a lot, actually. Like, yes. So it feels like the ping pong analogy was quite good as well, I suppose. Like, I feel I'm getting battered about sometimes.
Right.
So I go from being very, very high to like boom back into I'm in my body feeling crap and believing it all again. Something like that.
It's okay. I want you to stay in your body feeling crap. Stop trying to feel better than that. Stay in the crap. Let Jesus sort that out for you. You know, the fact that you can find crap is a blessing. It's like, oh damn, look where I'm at. I'm down in this dark hole. Thank God. At least I'm not in denial. If there's pain and suffering and struggling within me still, let me find it. You know, and then when you find it, you be still and you give it to Jesus. Give it to God. Give it to the Holy Spirit. Right? You can play ping pong with it if you like, but you know how that turns out. You can never win against yourself because you're always only ever beaten by yourself. I thought there was something going on. I could feel you there in the shadows. Eric, what's going on? Where is he? Did you have your hand up?
He did.
Yo.
I had to keep putting it down.
Yes, hi.
There's a little icon you can push. There's a little yellow hand that comes up like that. I don't know where it is on the buttons. There's a button somewhere that does it on here.
Yes, I couldn't find it, but
No, I can never find it either.
I'm here. I wonder, Dave, because it's all different. Like I was with Self-Realization Fellowship, trying to meditate. That's Paramahansa Yogananda, who written the book, Autobiography of a Yogi. And then like Hare Krishna, I've had in Manchester where I was working for, say, 8 years or something like that. I met this guy from Hare Krishna. So he was saying, do not eat meat. Cow is like your mother, don't drink, don't smoke, things like that. So I wonder, would that help with our awakening atonement or
Okay, so because you're asking the question, let me tell you this. Did you read lesson 76?
I did. It was just the God's laws. The God's laws. We abide
Okay.
and by the
Did you
God's
read
laws.
did you read the bits about nutrition and supplements and the belief in health and fitness and all of that sort of stuff? It's all in there.
Well, okay, yes, but I know that I didn't eat meat for 13, 14 years, and now when I can smell just the smell of fried meat, to me it's disgusting. I don't want to like comment, criticize or something, but I don't want to take it. I tried some, let's say, a little bit of pate or something else, and now it doesn't feel nice to me.
Right.
I'm not being
Let me give it to you
thrown
this way.
into it.
Let me give it to you this way, biblically. When you go to a strange place and to somebody else's house, eat whatever is put before you, because it's not what you put into your body that can defile you, but every word that comes out of it can defile you. Right? That's Jesus from the Bible. You are not the body, and all of those ideas that you're trying to justify to yourself about how you've been vegetarian or how this, how that, whatever, all of those ideas have to go. All of them, because none of them represent the true nature of your divine being. Not one. I'm telling you, you can eat meat, you can drink beer, you can do whatever you want, you can smoke joints and cigarettes, and you can do anything. You're not going to stop your awakening. Right? Everything is proactive and works for the construct of your awakening, despite that you might have other ideas of being able to help facilitate it in a certain way. It's not true. Now, one of the things that happens in the process of purification is that if, for example, alcohol has been an issue for you in your life, you'll find that that naturally falls away. You won't feel attracted to drinking. If you find that eating meat and whatever has always been repulsive to you or whatever, you'll probably find that just naturally falls away. But it won't be because I've got some sort of idea or thought system about this kind of food's better for me than that kind of food, or these supplements are better than those supplements, because as lesson 50 says, I am sustained by the love of God.
Exactly.
Now,
Yeah. So why do I need to? I feel like we are the spirit, isn't it? So
right.
why, if we are spirit, why do we need to eat at all? Why do we need to eat another being? I wouldn't eat my dog, my cats. They are animals. So like, oh, what's the difference between my dog or cat and somebody's cow, somebody's horse, somebody's
Exactly.
pig? I don't want to
Look at
touch
all
the
those
pig.
ideas.
Some people don't eat it, and like, I don't know,
If you
Jews
don't
don't
want,
eat
hey,
this or that.
if you don't want to eat a cat or a dog or somebody else's cow, then don't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is this like connected to this avatar? If I put
No, it's
bad
not connected at
ingredients
all. It's
into
just
it.
some tiny mad idea that you're making into some sort of thought system about eating a cat or a dog or someone else's cow. It's all tiny mad idea. The whole thing. Even the idea, like, I've met this woman who was a breatharian and she lived on a cup of tea a day and 1 square of chocolate a day. And she'd been living like that for 11 years. Right? I met her at a rainbow gathering because her philosophy was, I'm the spirit, not the flesh, therefore I don't need to really eat. Right? But the whole idea that she didn't eat food and regular thing like everybody else only verifies that she's the body. Right? You cannot verify, or you cannot sort of transmute the idea of your physical body by food you put into it, medicines that you take or don't take, food that you don't want to eat. None of that matters. Only truth matters. Only love matters. None of it matters at all. Right? When I was in Vietnam, I ate dog. I love dogs. I would never eat dog intentionally, but I ate dog because I didn't know what I was being served. Am I going to have a certain thing about that? For a second I did. It was like, oh my God. But you have to accept the fact that people eat everything. What are you going to do? Change the world? You go to China, they eat their dogs. They grow their dogs for 3 years specifically so they can eat them at that time. They have puppies and then they grow those puppies to eat them. That, you know, and cows,
How
everything.
many of them are awakened?
It has nothing to do with awakening. Absolutely nothing. That's just another thought system based on a tiny mad idea. Awakening is of God. Right? All your thoughts, every thought that you have is meaningless. Lesson 10, my thoughts do not mean anything. Your thoughts about what you eat, don't eat, vegetarian, vegan, it doesn't matter. Everything here comes here to die. Everything here is dead already, but for finding life in Christ.
I don't like it to die inside of me. You know, I know what you mean, yeah, but
your body.
Oh,
you know, you would have to, Irek, see yourself as the body in order to have those ideas about it. If I'm not the body, what do I care? If something comes to me today and it looks like meat, or something comes tomorrow and it looks like pudding, which usually in my case is pudding, it doesn't matter.
But if this,
I live on a diet of
I don't want to call it body,
custard and cake.
Dave, I know that it's not the body. I'm not the body. I know that. I know I'm a spirit who came here into this illusion, or you can call it a dream or simulation, stuff like that. So if I've got this avatar that, you know, I cannot leave it at will, you know, you had a atonement, you're still in this body, you're still in this avatar, let's say avatar, not body, isn't it? Let's call it avatar, because body is like just flesh and stuff like that. That means separation from spirit, body and spirit. That's, let's say, avatar that our spirit is using in this illusion, in this dream, in this hallucination, whatever, however you're gonna call it. And it's, you know, if you take a knife and cut your finger, you're gonna hurt yourself, isn't it? It bleeds and stuff like that. So it's illusion, but it's, you know, experience is there. I don't like cutting myself. So then, let's say if this avatar, as well as our spirit, was created holy and perfect, why do we need to put something into it to make it, to run it?
Don't.
If it's sustained, as you said, if it's sustained by the love of God, why do I need to put that bodies, that flesh into it? You know, I'm please tell me, you know, that's I've been vegetarian for 13 years. It's coming now to 14. And, you know, I cannot imagine now putting any dead flesh into it.
So let me tell you this. Right?
Like, let
me tell you this. Let me tell you this. I read a study about 2 weeks ago where science has now discovered that fungi communicate with each other, and lettuces, lettuce was one of the things that they used. Lettuce communicates with each other through its root system. It's a living, conscious organism. Now, as a vegetarian, are you going to go and kill a lettuce and a mushroom and eat that and say that that's better than eating a dog because a dog has eyes or a cow has eyes? It's a sentient being. Everything here is living. Everything. But what's more important? Your awakening or being concerned for your diet? Right? That's why Jesus says, eat whatever is put before you. It's not what goes into your body that can corrupt you, but every word that comes out of it. Right? Every word that comes out of it. Every time you want to justify why you shouldn't eat meat, every time you want to justify why you should eat meat, you're associating with the body. And that's the opposite of what Jesus is telling you to do. He's telling you to live from the Spirit, have no concern for your body, no concern for what you eat, whatever's put before you or not put before you. Just eat it. It's not going to hurt you. It's not causing anything corruption. It's all an illusion. It's all a dream. It's all, as you said, what was the word you said? Your imagination. Right? It's not real, Irek. If you cut your finger, fine, cut your finger. If you need to do that to prove to yourself that pain is real in this world, prove it that way. You know, it's like people will bang their head against the same wall again and again and again before they realize that they get the results of their own thinking. But the results of your own thinking can only be reconciled to Christ. I'm either a body or I'm not a body. And that's the place where you have to make that transition in your own mind where you're like, you know, I was a vegetarian. I had this girlfriend that told me that she wouldn't have sex with me unless I was vegetarian, and she was a bikini model and she was like really sexy, and I wanted to have sex with her, and this is years and years ago, and she made me be a vegetarian, and she cooked all good vegetarian food, and I became a vegetarian bona fide, not just because of her. Even we only stayed together 6 months, but after that I stayed vegetarian because I enjoyed the food, and the vegetables is cheaper than meat, and I kind of felt some way about eating cows again after that, right? But then one day I was at a rainbow gathering, and there was like, it's all vegetarian there. The Haridam was all vegetarian, and I was driving back from the rainbow gathering, and I found myself in this little town which has this big billboard when you drive in, welcome to Casino, the beef capital of Australia, right? And I'm like, And so it was like 6 a.m. in the morning. There was only 2 cafes in this tiny town with like 20 shops. I don't know how big it is today. One of them was open, and I walked in, and there was no vegetarian option for breakfast. Everything had meat. It was either bacon, sausages, steak and eggs. Like everything was like, there was nothing vegetarian. And I asked the lady, I said, do you have any vegetarian stuff here? And she goes, nope. And I said, all right, I'll have sausage and eggs. And that was it. You know, but in my own mind, sausage and eggs was no different to anything else. What I'm going to do, starve? Lay the body down because I don't want to eat a sausage? I don't think so. I've got more in my life is more important than that. And that's where you have to look at it, and you have to sort of see for yourself. It's like, all right, is it important that I carry this message and teach as my Saviour taught, or am I going to involve myself in some kind of earthly delusion about diet and what life is here on earth, when Jesus tells me it's not life, it's another form of life, as if I can possibly kill something. You can't kill anything. If you want to eat meat, eat meat. If you don't want to eat meat, don't eat meat. You know? And it's funny because I remember Ted was teaching one day, and there was this mosquito buzzing around his around his thing. And there was a girl, Christy, who was a devout Hare Krishna person, would never swat a mosquito or a fly or whatever. And the mosquito came in front of Ted, and he just went and squished it. And she almost had a heart attack that an enlightened guy would squish a mosquito. You know? But you have to understand there's nothing going on here in the world. Not the good stuff or the bad stuff. Have no concern for your body. The prophets had no concern for their body. They knew that if they taught the scripture, they were going to be stoned to death. You think they care? No, because they don't see themselves as a body. Whilst you see yourself as a body, you will be concerned about what you put into it. You will be concerned about nutrients. You will be concerned about medicines, about economics, about all of those things in lesson 76. Right? And you won't get out of it by playing ping pong in your own mind, isn't it? About how, you know, isn't it better to do this than that? There's no such thing. It doesn't exist except in your own mind, I reckon. It's a game you play with yourself in here. It doesn't exist. And you'll say that this is better than that, and you'll keep playing that this is better than that game, and you'll transfer it onto this situation, that situation, another situation, because fundamentally you don't want to wake up. You want to stay in the idea of this and that, which is duality. Right? And realizing that is often the place where that's where your awakening actually starts. Realizing you don't want to wake up, you have to deny the Christ before you can embrace him. Edward, you have something? Everyone, read lesson 76 and read it thoroughly. Try to let it in, try to get a sense of what it's actually saying. That's homework.
There's Edward.
Go for it, Edward.
Oh, can we do a I just feel so much gratitude. I don't even feel, but can we do like a minute of gratitude? It's just an idea, but I feel like I just have so much gratitude. It makes me want to cry. Because I'm grateful.
I'll join you in that idea of gratitude.
Thank you.
Except we'll let it go for more than a minute. We'll keep that attitude of gratitude from here until the end of time. How's that?
I know. I know.
Good. Ali, you good?
I'm doing the same, Edward.
Right. Carolyn, you good? Claire, Natasha, Deb, you guys all good?
Yeah, resonated a lot with Tina's sharing today, and just I think really recently seeing shenanigans supposedly going on out there, but just really realizing that it's the separation, like this, just that I've had that feeling always of like sadness or loneliness and things like that, and it's just really that nothing out there is it, like nothing out there is going to make you happy, and just that really deep feeling of separation and like sort of, I suppose, not feeling fulfilled because of the separation.
Good.
Yeah, so just really sitting with that, and it was I was only sleeping for about 4 hours last night, and I was doing a bit of Christmas time, a little bit of family drama, and wanting to put some blame out there with the sister that I only see twice a year, but just like bringing it all back and just sitting with that and feeling that really.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
And
Very
Kevin
good.
too. Thank you so much to Kevin. He's beautiful.
Good. All right, I think we're done then, unless anyone else has anything to say. Harry's good. Look at Harry. Just shining. All right, I love you guys. And anyone who's going to stick around for a bit after with Tina for any housekeeping or whatever, I sent Tina the file for the reprint of the. Did you get that file for the new 20-minute book? It's not finished yet. I just thought I'd send them to you in case I did something amazing and deleted them all somehow. So now you've got.
I was going through some stuff.
Right.
Tonight.
There's not much to look at, really. There's not a lot to look at yet, but just run your scrutinous gaze over it and just see what you think. I've still got an introduction to do. All right. Everyone read lesson 7. Actually, we'll do it before we go. Harry, have you got a book there? Let's have lesson 76 in your best English accent, please. You have to unmute the microphone. When you're ready.
The full lesson.
76, the full lesson. Let's have it. It's a couple of pages. You can read half and Emily can read the other half. She's got a nice English accent too. Very proper, governor.
I am under no laws but God's. We have observed before how many senseless things have seemed to you to be salvation. Each has imprisoned you with laws as senseless as itself. You are not bound by them. Yet to understand that this is so, you must first realize salvation lies not there. While you would seek for it in things that have no meaning, you bind yourself to laws that make no sense. Thus do you seek to prove salvation is where it is not. Today we will be glad you cannot prove it. For if you could, you would forever seek salvation where it is not, and never find it. The idea for today tells you once again how simple is salvation. Look for it where it waits for you, and there it will be found. Look nowhere else, for it is nowhere else. Think of the freedom in the recognition that you are not bound by all the strange and twisted laws you have set up to save you. You really think that you would starve unless you have stacks of green paper strips and piles of metal discs. You really think a small round pellet or some fluid pushed into your veins through a sharpened needle will ward off disease and death. You really think you are alone unless another body is with you. It is insanity that thinks these things. You call them laws and put them under different names in a long catalogue of rituals that have no use and serve no purpose. You think you must obey the laws of medicine, of economics, and of health. Protect the body and you will be saved. These are not laws, but madness. The body is endangered by the mind that hurts itself. The body suffers just in order that the mind will fail to see it is the victim of itself. The body's suffering is a mask the mind holds up to hide what really suffers. It would not understand it is its own enemy, that it attacks itself and wants to die. It is from this your laws would save the body. It is for this you think you are a body. There are no laws except the laws of God. This needs repeating over and over until you realize it applies to everything that you have made in opposition to God's will. Your magic has no meaning. What it is meant to save does not exist. Only what it is meant to hide will save you.
Where is it? I can't see. Where? The laws of God can never be replaced. We will devote today to rejoicing that this is so. It is no longer a truth that we would hide. We realize instead it is a truth that keeps us free forever. Magic imprisons, but the laws of God make free. The light has come because there are no laws but His. We will begin the longer practice periods today with a short review of the different kinds of laws we have believed we must obey. These would include, for example, the laws of nutrition, of of can you say it for me?
Immunization.
Immunization, thank you. Of medication and of the body's protection in innumerable ways. Think further. You believe in the laws of friendship, of good relationships, and reciprocity. Perhaps you even think that there are laws which set forth what is God's and what is yours. Many religions have been based on this. They would not save but damn in heaven's name. Yet they are no more strange than other laws you hold must be obeyed to make you safe. There are no laws but God's. Dismiss all foolish, magical beliefs today and hold your mind in silent readiness to hear the voice that speaks the truth to you. You will be listening to one who says there is no loss under the laws of God. Payment is neither given nor received. Exchange cannot be made. There are no substitutes, and nothing is replaced by something else. God's laws forever give and never take. Hear him who tells you this, and realize how foolish are the laws you thought upheld the world you thought you saw. Then listen further. He will tell you more about the love your Father has for you, about the endless joy he offers you, about his yearning for his only Son, created as his channel for creation, denied to him by his belief in hell. Let us today open God's channels to him and let his will extend through us to him. Thus is creation endlessly increased. His voice will speak of this to us, as well as of the joys of heaven, which his laws keep limitless forever. We will repeat today's idea until we have listened and understood there are no laws but God's. Then will we tell ourselves, as a dedication with which the practice period concludes, I am under no laws but God's. We will repeat this dedication as often as possible today, at least 4 or 5 times an hour, as well as in response to any temptation to experience ourselves as subject to other laws throughout the day. It is our statement of freedom from all danger and all tyranny. It is our acknowledgement that God is our Father and that his Son is saved.
Good. Take a breath. In through the nose, out through the top of the head. In the midst of all your turmoil, in the midst of everything that seems to be going on, be still. Breathe. And know that you are the beloved of God. You are safe and you are saved. You are innocent and you are perfect and you are whole. You are not the body, not the stories that you attribute to the body. You are spirit forever and ever. Amen. All right, I'm going to go have some lunch.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, bye.
Thank you. Love you.
Nice to see you, Harry.
See
Never
ya.
see you.
Bye. I need to shoot off
Bye.
as well.
All
Oh
right.
my
You,
God, this
you're
was
not staying to the end?
wonderful.
You're usually here to the end. Rest
Yes.
well, friend. All right.
Oh wow.
Cheers, everyone. Have a good night
Bye.
Thank
or
you.
good day.
Absolutely outstanding, wonderful, wonderful.
See you in oneness, not in this duality.
Not if I see you first.
Bye.
Robert, thank you so much. I'm so happy that you reached out and took the link and made your way. Thank you. I can't hear you. Here, I'll do it for you. How's that? There.
Oh yeah, that works. Hey, thanks. I appreciate it. I really like talking to humans, and I don't get to do it often, so it's been fun.
Who you calling human?
Apparently, you know, I see them. I see them.
So it would appear.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Thanks
so
a
much.
lot. I appreciate it.